Classic, huh?
I don't know where to put this so I don't come out in the shop.
Well, it's live now, so it's in the...
Put it out there.
All right.
So I'll share it on the page and then
Yep. Just going to adjust it up a little bit.
right post.
All right, tell me how it looks. Does it look good?
Yeah, I'm sharing it right now. I would say, hey Richard, share it. I'm pretty sure he has a notification set up. Yeah, looks nice. Yeah, you get everything. You get the scarf and everything. The only thing is like you get like
Yeah.
a bit of that doorbell too.
Well, and whenever you have the World Cup stuff back up,
Yeah.
it goes on. It fits on that side of the couch. Pull it up on here. Come on, you sucker. All right.
I'll share it on my page.
Okay.
You see, we got all those tickets.
Oh wow.
$39 so general admission.
They gave me. I got it for 40 for that. At the season ticket. Or it's supposed to be $45 tickets,
Yeah.
but I got it for 40. But when you add the fees, it comes out to basically about the same.
Yeah.
So
Let me see.
all right, we are up
Where's the share thing on here?
and running.
Does it not let me share?
Let's see who's watching. Richard better get his butt on here.
Let me see. Maybe I need to go to your actual page.
All right. You got at least share it on.
I shared it on the page and I shared it on mine now.
Oh, okay. Well, shoot, let's get started. And 7:50, so we'll do till 8:05 is the max on Dynamo. You can keep track of it. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I know some of you, if you're watching this on playback, we've been messing around with things. And that's because if you notice, we have a brand new set. So welcome to the new Texas Soccer Live set. This is officially episode 13. It's kind of crazy we're up to that number. We're pretty close to our 1-year anniversary coming up in March. But we figured doing a February show and then doing one in March was too long to wait. So we wanted to bring you a short one tonight. It'll be about 45 minutes max, maybe shorter. And we want to focus just kind of on 3 topics, just keep things fresh. Like I said, show off our new set, talk about some of the things that are coming up. One of the things to keep on the radar, we'll have episode 14 in February. And we're going to have our 1-year anniversary show on March 17th, Saturday. We will be giving away Dynamo tickets live on the show. We'll be giving away the last of our first round of show shirts. Who knows? We'll come out with a new one for year 2. So we'll have all that going. If you're watching this on playback, kind of 3 segments. We're going to dive into the Dynamo. Their season is less than 40 days away now. They've reported back for training camp. Some big news actually just broke yesterday with the Dynamo. We'll then talk about what's going on in Europe. They're about 2/3 to their seasons. And then finally, Raul's going to lead us through a little Liga MX talk. They've had 3 weeks to start. We got week 4 coming up on Friday. So we'll look at the current standings and who's been a surprise, who's not, and see kind of what we think about what's going to happen this week in Liga MX, because it's been very, very interesting as always already. So let's just jump right in. The big thing is look at the Dynamo, and we're actually planning on going out to they have open practice on Saturday. Has been the breaking news is kind of shocking. I want to get your initial take on it. Was that Eric Kubo Torres, as of last night, is no longer part of the Dynamo. He got sold down to Pumas. He's going back to Mexico. What do you think in terms of impact you think that'll have on the squad? What do you think the thinking was, the reasoning behind it? What was your reaction?
The way I see it is, I can understand why. It might not hurt them as much. I mean, he didn't have so much of a great postseason during the playoffs or anything. We heard that in the stands from a few fans. But I feel like the Dynamo they're trying to open up a few spots that they can fill up and look for newer talent or maybe better talent. I don't know if it was the right move for him to go to Mexico. Although, I mean, people do shine a bit more in Mexico because it's a very diverse league, but you stand out a bit more in Mexico. I don't think it should really mess anything up unless they were able to keep like a solid squad, but they weren't able to do that. They were always making switches and subs and stuff like that. So I don't think it should interfere much, but I feel like it should. I feel like he'll probably do better in Pumas, and I feel like the Dynamo can find someone a bit better with more skills and talent.
Yeah, I mean, he was actually. I was curious about the stats. He was third on the scoring list last year, so he was part of the offense. But he really I looked at that offense when those goals came. They were all from the first half of the season. He hasn't really done anything the second half. He was a no-show in the playoffs. And I think one of the big things that I was kind of wanted to point out to everyone is, the rest of the team has been locked up. I think what's very significant is they locked up both Ellis and Kyoto to long-term permanent deals. Cabezas as well in the midfield. Manotas, who was the fourth leading scorer. So the rest of the attack, the rest of the offense. But that being said, I think with him gone, it actually opens it up for some guys who didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
We kept talking about Tomas Martinez last year and him having a chance. Some of the new guys that have come in.
I'd like to see that Venezuelan defender that they brought in. I want to see how that goes.
Well, and yeah, I mean, you have old Beasley and a suspect. Everywhere they added, they did not make any big splash moves, but any move they made in terms of new guys to the team were defense or defensive mid. Goalkeeper, they brought in Chris Seitz from FC Dallas.
That's what they needed to do, was to fix that hole that they had in the defense and midfield.
Well, and you have him back, yes, and then you have Arturo Alvarez, who is actually coming back home. He's from Houston, grew up here, and was with Chicago last year for 24 games. You mentioned Alejandro from Venezuela, who was part of a team that went to Copa Libertadores.
Yeah, I think they recently won, or I'm not sure.
They won. They won the Venezuelan league.
Yeah.
They won their league, and I know they advanced somewhere into Copa Libertadores, or we're pretty far up in there. You have Salvadorian Darwin Cerdan. He had 19 starts with San Jose with 2 assists. So some good playmakers. They brought up their top prospect from Rio Grande Valley. Eric Bird was their captain for all 29 games last season. He had 4 goals, 3 assists, and so he's a solid player. So some dynamic midfielders with some solid defenders. I think that was huge. That Venezuelan signing with Alejandro is going to be huge. It's interesting. Picked up some other guys in the draft. Their top pick was spent on a goalkeeper, Michael Nelson from SMU. So they're definitely going to have a competition. They want to create a goalie competition in camp. They got Seitz. They got 2 new guys, Seitz and Nelson, with Willis coming back. Obviously, we all know that Mr. Tyler Derrick ain't going to be part of no team anytime soon, since he wants to headbutt girls. And so, one of the big things for me, with him, with Torres coming out, I'm actually not too sad about it. A lot of people, I think, they get starstruck by the name. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities here. I didn't see how much we got for him. It was undisclosed as of yesterday. I saw something today that said something in the millions, like $2 million, which is pretty significant for an MLS transfer.
MLS transfer in the Mexican League. I mean, it's pretty much the same, but it's a good amount of money. You can do a lot with that money too.
Well, and he was one of our 3 international spot. So you now can get another international player who's a designated you can't touch player. So that was really big for me. Now looking at the actual season, the schedule came out. I'll be going to all the home games this year. Decided to buy the season tickets. For me, there's a couple games that stand out, and kind of want to get your thought on things. For me, it's that what do we keep talking about all last season? It was that this team is amazing at home, despite having low turnout in crowds, and they were crap on the road. They start the season 3 out of 4 at home, and the one that's on the road is against the crappy DC United.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, for me, and people say, what's the most critical stretch of the season? It's how they start. Because if they're a team like last year, they're going to need some cushion at the end. And, I mean, if you can't get that one road win against DC United and rack up somewhere between 6 and 7 points in those 3 home games, there's no reason why the Dynamo couldn't have anywhere from 10 to, heck, 12 points in the first 4 games. I can see them going 4-0. And I think that's huge with their momentum because, as I mentioned in a second, they hit some tough spots over the summer.
Yeah. Well, I think for the Dynamo, it's about where they left off against. Even though they lost to Seattle, they did pretty good in the playoffs. If they pick up that momentum from where they left off, they get a solid 11 starting team. They stick with that and they work with the chemistry and they work with everything. I think they should be fine. I say they were better at home, so I think it'd be better for them to get those points at home, and then they were able to get it together when they went on the road for the playoffs, and they kind of picked it up there. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if they can get that momentum and carry it on the road during the regular season, they should get some easy points, and that's easily right there. That's some good cushion for them in the end.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing of where we'll see the effectiveness of Wilmer Cabrera in his second year. Okay, you've established that you can put together good lineups. You get a team that buys into your system. Can you break through the psychological barrier, which for y'all last year was this roadblock, literally.
Even his first season, he managed to get to the playoffs. So now he can move from there and move forward and have bigger plans.
Well, and the bar has been set. I mean, going into the end of the season, this is one other thing I wanted to talk about at the beginning. Both Seattle matches are in the last month of the season. They have the second 2 out of 3. Actually, this year we played Dallas 3 times, 2 at home. 2 of them are later in the season. Portland is later in the season. So perennial Western Conference favorites. It's going to be a brutal August, September run to the finish. So what's critical for this team is to watch them early on. I'm not saying they can't come from behind, but I think if this team's going to be successful, it is all about what they do through the early part of June.
Yeah.
They have very winnable games. I want to see how they look, yes, at home, but against a playoff team. Atlanta United is who they're starting the season off against on March 3rd. I want to see how they look with that. As I said, 3 Dallas games. The new LAFC is going to come here in July, so that should be fun. Good test early on. Toronto, reigning champs, are here in April. So it is a good season. A lot of good home games for people who want to go out. What's nice about this year is people don't like the heat down there. They're all night games except for like the first 3, which are still in the spring. So I think it's going to be fun down at BVA Compass Stadium with a lot of cool stuff going on. With that being said, predictions? Where do you see them? Do you see them holding the course, staying the same where they were last year in the Western Conference? I think they finished 4th. No, they finished 5th. Or do you see them getting better, worse? What do you think?
I see them in the playoffs again in the top 4. If they do how they did last season, they pick off where they left off and they just tweak the defense in the midfield how they need to. They incorporate those new players that they got. They get a momentum going and they build chemistry. I feel like they might have a chance to even make it past the semis and into the final. It just depends on how they start the season.
Yeah, I definitely could also see a scenario where, very similar to last year, I see the Western Conference this year in the MLS, not a lot of changes. I think the biggest question for me, this new LAFC team has bought a lot of players. They've spent a lot of money. They got a lot of talent. They came with a big bankroll. I want to see if they shake things up because do they follow the model of Minnesota United and do nothing? Or do they follow the model of Atlanta and become a powerhouse right away? Which, by the way, Atlanta has bought more players and is spending money like crazy. I think it shows you just talking about sport in general, to cap things off in the MLS. People are starting to spend money, and it's showing you that if you spend the money, just like you look at the model overseas, you can create good franchises very quickly. Atlanta did it literally overnight, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. So that's our talk with the Dynamo. Like I said, just a couple things, dates to keep in mind. March 3rd. March 3rd is the home opener. This Saturday we'll be going down, so they have an open practice down at their training facility at the Houston Sports Park Saturday morning from 9 to 12. And so we'll be checking them out. We'll see them in person and see how they look. And then we'll have more coming to you closer we get to the actual season start. With that, let's switch gears. What I like to do is a quick rundown of the Euro leagues now that they're about 2/3 through. And here's what I want to do: kind of quick takes here. I'm gonna mention the top 8 of a league. You give me anything that stand out, surprising shockers, and then I'll give mine, and then we just move on. So here comes your we'll call it I got 5 leagues, so the big 5 Euro leagues right down the list. Premier League, number 1, Man City, 65 points. Man U with 53 points. Chelsea 3 with 50. Liverpool 4 with 47. A couple other mentions. 5 is Tottenham, 45. Arsenal always in 6 with 42. Leicester City has gone back up into the top 8 with 34. And then Burnley is in 34. Thoughts on the Premier League? There's been a lot of transfer. We were talking about the transfer window.
Yeah, there's a lot of transfers, but I feel like that's set already. It's a dogfight between the top 4. I'm sorry, but if you're the bottom 4, like the top 8, if you're the bottom 4, it's pretty much over. The top 4, it's majority of the time it's always either the 4th place team that always makes it, or maybe I can see Man City taking it.
For me, it's all about the Manchester Derby. I mean, these two teams dominated since the first week. Here we are 21 games later, and they're still on top. They have huge bankrolls. I think finally the thing went through with Alexis Sanchez to go to Man U.
Yeah, he
finally it's going through. So the strong get stronger. One of the things that I want to watch as we go forward, and this kind of individual player, you talked about number 4, Liverpool. The fans have gotten behind him. They've embraced him. He's had a breakout year. He's always been a good player. But Salah, who's going to be leading the Egyptian team in the World Cup, has given a lot of hope to an oftentimes mediocre Liverpool side. So I'm interested to see watch him, because I'm watching a lot of these players in these leagues. They're going to go straight into the World Cup this summer, and so this is your final kind of tune-up, if you will, to prepare for the big stage for your country. La Liga, no surprise here. Barcelona with 54 points is clearly in first. Atletico Madrid is in second with 43. Valencia in third with 40. And then number 4 is Real Madrid with 35. And then going down to the bottom, we have Villarreal, Sevilla, Celta, and Eibar.
The only surprise, which I said it last year, that this would be Barcelona's year. It clearly is. Real Madrid, 35 points is very disappointing. They just got eliminated from Copa del Rey. They're not going to win the league. I know that. They have to win every single game left in order to catch up to Barcelona. And then they have to expect for other teams to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, all Real Madrid has left is Champions League. And that's even a dogfight. It's pretty simple. It's always the same teams that are up there. I'm happy to see that Barcelona's up there. I'm happy to see that they are not struggling, even though that they lost Neymar. They have made some moves. They've got Coutinho. I was happy to see that, but now they're in a situation to where you have so many talented midfielders. Who do you put? You have Iniesta, you have Coutinho, you have Dybala. It's like, who do you use?
Well, apparently they're saying that Coutinho is supposed to be the heir apparent to Iniesta. So they're making it sound like Iniesta's about to retire. I didn't know he planned on retiring anytime soon, but they're making it. There was a post today that I shared on the page that it said the future looking at the past, something like that. I'm like, are you really pushing out Iniesta already?
Yeah.
I mean, I get that he's up there, but he's still playing for you.
And he made a pretty good statement saying, like, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So it's just like,
Well,
are you pushing him, or is he ready to go?
Yeah, and why should he? I mean, you've established things. What was the thing that was posted today that, of course it would be Messi, but Barcelona scored their 4,000th goal at Camp Nou. I mean, and of course it was Messi that did it. So these guys are on a roll right now, and, you're not going to stop them. I've seen some interesting in the other tournaments, and I'm not an expert on this, some of the other tournaments going on that besides the actual just La Liga, I know they have several of the cups they compete for. Sevilla recently was a big upset over, I think, Atletico. But once again, Real Madrid just kind of lost. Ronaldo, not good in league play. He'll play good when they play in champion settings or in other places, but it does not showing up for actual league games.
You won't see. Real Madrid won't advance in Champions League. They won't. It's upsetting to see them like this, but like I said, it was Barcelona's year. Barcelona had a fall. They fell pretty hard last year. They came to pick themselves up this year.
Well, and it would be nice, from a fan's perspective, just to see these two actually good at the same time.
Yeah.
They feel like they trade off. One takes a break for a year and then comes back. Bundesliga, number 1 Bayern Munich with 47. Second place Bayern with 31. Schalke in third with 31. Leipzig 31 in fourth. And then just kind of the one I'll mention towards the bottom, Dortmund has sank to 6th with 30. I mean, there's no doubt that Bayern Munich's running away with this thing, but I think the bigger story here is
what happened to Dortmund.
What the heck happened to Dortmund? I mean, do you think it's been too much of a distraction? When that transfer window opened, I feel like it was a feeding frenzy, at least in the media, on Dortmund players. Everyone's like, well, Pulisic might go, Aubameyang may go, all these guys may leave. It's like Premier League was just feasting on them. Yeah. Now, and ultimately, I don't think there hasn't been that many moves going on over there, but I don't know if that's a distraction. I don't know what's going on, but they've just kind of faded back. I mean, the whole league has faded back.
Yeah, Bayern's taking it all the way. Even though they had a pretty hard time winning games, but then they got rid of their head coach and they brought a new guy in and they got the ball rolling again. But
yeah,
Dortmund, with them, it seems like it's on and off for some reason. I don't understand why, but it's kind of upsetting. It kind of bothers you. It's like, how do you do so good and then you fall so hard? The same thing in Champions League. I expected them to do good. They didn't even advance, so it's just like it bothers you. But
what's frustrating about anything the Bundesliga is I feel like they're a league that the Premier League, especially the Premier League and La Liga, those teams just love to rob talent. Bayern Munich, why is Bayern Munich good every year? Because they pay their players and they keep them there in Germany. Any other talent from any of these other teams, if they get up to that caliber, Premier League teams which have 5 times the payroll are coming in and sweeping these guys out of there as quick as they go. It's almost like the Bundesliga is a lower division for La Liga and especially the Premier League, and so it's frustrating because Bundesliga have some of the most entertaining games in my opinion, and some of the best young talent. But once that young talent gets good enough, it's swept up. I think that's what Dortmund is facing, is that they had a very good core that's now slowly getting taken apart. That's just what I'm seeing. The only league where there's an actual competition going on, it's actually pretty thrilling to watch every week because it has been neck and neck for over a month now, and it continues, is actually down in Italy in Serie A. You have Napoli has 54 points. Juventus has been on their butts with 53, and they've been 1 point separated. They've been going win for win for win for win, tearing through the league. here's what I love about this scenario I want to happen. I could see in this league both these teams winning out, and guess what the last game of the season is? It's Napoli versus Juventus for the championship. 1 point VAR. I mean, this is the actual. You want some must-see soccer? I'm really hoping they broadcast that game in the United States if it comes down to that, because no one's. I mean, even no one's close. You have number 3, Lazio is 46. Yes, technically in it. You have Inter Milan kind of floating around with 43, Roma 41, and then it just drops off from there. One note is that AC Milan has worked their way back up into 7th. At one point, they were like 14th. But the real story there is that this is the only true title race that's developing in Europe. Do you think Juventus will eventually catch them, or will we have a new champion for the first time in a while in Napoli?
I think that'd be a pretty interesting game to watch. I don't think Juventus would be able to just walk away with it like that. I feel like some of their players are still distracted at the fact that they lost the Champions League final, even though that they won their league title. But it's just, I don't see it being a walk in the park like many other leagues. Although it is interesting to see them. Sometimes they do good, sometimes they do bad. But I think that's probably a must-see game. That's very exciting to see who can take it away, especially if you're separated by 1 point.
Well, I'm hoping these two. There's no signs of them stopping. I hope they win, and I hope it's within a point. I hope that it's within a point or 2 at most. In other words, I hope it comes down to that game, because that would be epic and must-see soccer. And then lastly, the French league, which I always joke about, we don't care about, but we really don't, because PSG is killing it as always with 56. Although Lyon has moved up into 2nd with 48, so they are 8 points out. The big story here is Monaco for the first time has dropped down to 4th with 46 points, and Marseille is in 3rd with 47. One thing interesting to me about the French league is that there's been what do you make of all these reports, and it's coming from this source, that source. What do you think is the fascination that the media over there is having with Neymar? There's all these stories about, is he happy or he's not happy? Why the hell do we care? That's my point.
Well, I think the big story coming out of it is they're saying that if he's not happy, there's rumors that he wants to move to Real Madrid. Now that would start so much chaos, everybody would go crazy. That means PSG just spent so much money for a year. He didn't win anything. He goes to Real Madrid. Barcelona's rival. You say that you wanted to play for Barcelona, now you're playing here. I think that's what everybody's just trying to hype it up. I was reading some articles. It may be true, it might not be true. I mean, you're winning games, you're going to win titles and stuff like that. I mean, who wouldn't be happy if you're doing that? You have a chance to take the Champions League away. Mm-hmm. Although when they play games, they make it seem like a walk in the park, like it's so easy. I can understand why that gets boring, but you just can't walk away from all that money that they just threw out.
Do you think that Brazil's performance in the upcoming World Cup will have any impact on his decision career-wise, his club career? In other words, I'm wondering, and I could see if Brazil were to have an epic collapse, i.e. like they had in 2014, and because they're coming in as perennial favorites, a lot of people are going to have them picked to go all the way. Do you think that would do you think if he comes out a big loser, labeled one out of that again, World Cup, do you think that's going to push him more to make a crazy move like that?
If this is what I've noticed about the past World Cups. If he stands out with Brazil, I mean, he goes out and he has the best World Cup ever, and even though he doesn't win, Real Madrid will offer him some money to come and play. Because I've seen that happen with Real Madrid to Toni Kroos. He won the World Cup. What did they do? They said, hey, I think it was, I believe it was like a week later, it says Real Madrid has signed Toni Kroos. So I feel like Real Madrid has this thing to where, like, whoever wins the World Cup, we're going to throw you some money to come play for us. But it's just like, same thing for James. James did so good during the World Cup. Yes. He lost to Brazil, and then what happened? Oh, come over here to Real Madrid and you can play here.
Yes, and that's exactly why I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a huge point. I mean, no offense to the Colombia fans out there, but James hasn't really done crap at the club level since the World Cup. And I just find it interesting, the influence. Yet, if you needed more of a reason to pay attention to the World Cup, and specifically individual players' performances, here you have it right here. I think there's a direct correlation between what's going to happen in terms of some of the big deals, who's going to get signed and not signed. The World Cup plays a big factor because everybody's watching. And so I think it's huge. What if Neymar wins the World Cup to him, Brazil go home World Cup champions? He may be satisfied. Why screw around with something that's, good?
Yeah, I mean, and plus you see how Real Madrid is right now. Real Madrid, I don't feel like there's enough space for Neymar to be there. Who are they going to drop? They're not going to drop Ronaldo. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
They might drop Benzema, but you also have Bale. You have the Real Madrid's just jam-packed.
Bale, the highest paid player.
But I also seen rumors that they want to get rid of Bale, so it's just
they want to dump that contract. That's absurd. And God, imagining Neymar in a Real Madrid uniform with Ronaldo playing together, that's just bizarre. Can't even think about that. All right, with that being said, let's get into our final segment, and that is the youngest season right now going on, only 3 weeks in, that's Liga MX. So I'm just going to kind of give a rundown quick of the standings, and then it's all yours, buddy. After 3 weeks, we have Pumas in first place. The crap talkers who said they were going to change the world are currently in first place, at least for now, with 7 points. Leon, who now have Captain America on their team, have 7 points. Number 3 is Santos with 6. Number 4, what used to be lowly Puebla, 6. Number 5, Cruz Azul with 5 points. Rayados in number 6 with 5 points. Club America with 5 points, 7. Number 8 is Tijuana with 5 points. Moving outside of the top 8, Pachuca is 9th place with 4. Querétaro has 4 points in 10th place. Chivas 4 points, 11th place. Toluca 4 points, 12th place. Tigres 4 points, 13th place. Monarcas 4 points, 14th place. And then you have the bottom of the pack, the real losers of the league right now. Necaxa only has 1 point in 15th. Veracruz only has 1 point in 16th. And then Atlas and Lobos WAP both have 0 points after 3 weeks.
Atlas has had a bad start. I don't know what's going on there, but 3 losses already. It's pretty bad. But everything else is like what I expected. It's a pretty slow start for a couple teams.
You expect Pumas to come out and walk the walk?
Pumas will choke. It's too early for them. They really haven't had a tough schedule like that. I don't think Cubo Torres will be the hero of them to bring them out.
Although they're signing a lot of people, I'll give them that. They've been Leon.
The problem that they always had was coaching staff. So if they'll have a big fall, they'll get rid of him. They'll bring somebody new.
What is your? I'm curious to get your take on what do you think is with Atlas? Atlas is a playoff team.
They got rid of their main player. They got rid of their main key player, and I noticed that they had him on the bench a while, and I was just like, that's the best player that you ever had, and now he's on the bench.
So one player gone, drops to 17th, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he was the best player, and I believe that he is playing with. I believe he's playing with Pumas.
No.
I believe he's playing with Pumas.
Well, and also something's going on defensively because the other thing I made note of is that people have pinned 8 goals on him already after 3 weeks. I mean, sounds like it's pretty easy to score on Atlas all of a sudden.
Yeah, I just feel like it's one of those teams that had a downfall. It's even though we're 3 games in, 4th one coming up, they'll eventually get a win. They'll get out of there. But it's just they lost their main player that I don't understand why they would even bother to not even offer some more money to keep him there. But it's pretty upsetting to let go of a player like that with so much talent. I feel like he did good. I wish the Tigres would have signed him. Right now we're trying to get us a few players to come back in to recover, but for Tigres we got Jurgen Damm to sign till 2023, so he'll stick around unless you buy him out or something.
Richard just asked us a good question. This is Who do you think is going to descend and fall down relegation at the end of this Clausura? Who's going to go down to second tier?
I still believe Puebla will fall after this.
Really?
Yes, they're up there right now, but they will fall. If it's not Puebla, well, I mean, it can't be Lobos Buap because they did pretty good.
For me, I thought the other team that was down there in that one last year when we had that three-way battle going on between was down at the very bottom. Vera Cruz was down there for a while when we had Chiapas. Chiapas was the one that ultimately fell, and Puebla got out of it. I'm with you. I think Puebla probably goes, but Vera Cruz is to watch out with their butts hanging around bottom of the league as well.
It's one team that's, I mean, they're not doing bad, but they're not doing good. And I mean, I'm not talking mess or anything, but Rayados has fallen after that final. Aviles, I don't know what's wrong with him. He cannot score penalties.
Well,
take him out from shooting penalties.
The other issue is going on is that, yeah, and I get what you're saying, and I appreciate the shot at my team there, but there's not hasn't been a lot of scoring, period, for Mexican League standards. I mean, the number of ties, I think it was week 2 or week 3, I think it was this past week, we had one night where we had 4 games in a row, 0-0 ties, 0-0 ties, 0-0 tie. I mean, look at it. I mean, you have a max points you could have had are 9 points. You're telling me my top 2 teams have only gotten 7 points? I mean, yeah, that's a lot. That means they've gotten 2 wins and a tie. But then the huge drop-off. I mean, the majority of this league, the average of the league is 4 or 5 points. That means that most people have gotten maybe they're able to rack up, one win, and they're winning by 1 goal.
Yeah,
I've seen so many 1-0, and that's how I was looking at the goal differential. The team that's been able to score the most goals has actually been Pachuca, and they're in 9th because they can't defend because they've had 6 minutes. So it's been a very split. I like looking at the goal differential because obviously that's the tiebreaker when you get to points. But the only team that's managed to have a what I call a steady goal differential has been Pumas with the 6 goals for and the 3 goals against, a 2-to-1 ratio. Everyone else, it's been a mess. I mean, yeah, Monterrey's only had 3 goals, 1 against us. Tigres has only had 3 goals and 3 against. So, it's kind of a mess. You look at Club America, only 3 goals, 2 against. Cruz Azul, only 3 goals. I mean, it's pretty low. I mean, after 3 games to have only 3 goals for your team, like I said, in this league, surprises me.
It's a pretty slow start, and then the fact that now the World Cup's coming up, everybody's losing players. Chivas, America, Monterrey, Tigres, they already put out the lineup for the national team. So I think each team is losing about 2 players, 3 players.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting to see how that works out. But I think it's just a slow start. Everything will start to pick up towards the end. Or if not, I say by like week 6, that's when everything will start taking off and everybody, the points and the goals will start coming back. You'll see those big wins and stuff like that. It should be pretty interesting. I'm waiting for March 21st because depending on how Pumas does, I get to see how Pumas plays in person to see what the hype is about. Because I don't like sitting down on Sundays and watching Pumas play. It's the last thing I want to do. But I'll probably get to see them in person.
And they get another very easy, I guess it's a good transition, they have a very easy matchup this week. They're playing last place Lobos.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, sometimes those last place teams, they come and surprise you out of nowhere.
Puebla.
They'll sneak up on
Puebla
you.
last year. Oh well, speaking of that, what are your thoughts on? Wrote down the games for this week. Anything stand out to you? I know the one that stands out to me the most. Games this week.
Yeah, well,
but what do you think about any others that you think people should key in on, or we can maybe see some action finally? Because it's been kind of, it hasn't been boring. It's just been kind of, here we are, we're playing the game. It's like, it's not been, maybe we're so used to the excitement coming off the playoffs. But for me, it's hard adjusting back to this kind of build up again.
well, obviously I'm going to pick Tigres and Pachuca. Should be a pretty good game because they both have points and either one can move up. Chivas and Rayados. Chivas seems to have picked it up a bit, so they could either move. Toluca and Cruz Azul should be interesting. I actually want to watch that game.
I'm still not. I don't know what it is. I'm trying to get behind and believe in that Cruz Azul is legit, but I just can't buy it yet. Like they proved me wrong last season, right? They hung around. They were pests all year. They got a good playoff position. I think they were ended up being fifth, something like that. You know, they stuck around. They lost barely. Didn't they lose to America in the playoffs? Or
It ended with no goals scored. America passed by points during the season.
So, considering where they were before that good, they're one team that I'm wondering, like, okay, are you guys like finally back, or what's going on, you know, with y'all? And I agree, Toluca, one of those teams, once again, that's always hanging around, that's on the verge of being amazing, or they're on the verge of just collapsing. You know, and the other one I was looking at was to kick off the games this week. Morelia is one that I'm still keeping an eye on. I get that they're in 14th right now, but this team is so shifty that they're the team that
switch up on you.
in the last month of the season, they could rack up 10 points in 4 games, and just all of a sudden, oh, here we are, you know, we're in the mix. So it's kind of crazy.
It's a pretty good week. There's a few teams that are going to get easy points.
Yeah, so let's just go through for the people real fast. Friday, we have Monarcas and Querétaro and Tijuana versus Puebla. And then Saturday, we had a loaded lineup with Lobos and Pumas, Tigres, Pachuca, León and Necaxa, America, Atlas, and Chivas and Rayados is your late game. And then Sunday, we have Toluca and Cruz Azul, and then Veracruz and Santos to close out the week Sunday evening. Yeah, like I said, I just see Rayados and Chivas for me. I obviously want to watch that, but you know, I want to see how much can. I'm actually with you because you know, I'm wondering. Pachuca's been another interesting team that they can score goals, but their defense is terrible.
Yeah.
And so I want to see kind of.
They lost their midfielder to Rayados.
Yeah.
So I feel like that kind of fell apart. Honda or whatever his name isn't making the cut for them. So
Yeah.
it should be pretty interesting. I'm hoping we can walk out of there with 3 points. I was very, very mad that we couldn't beat Querétaro. It was disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, can't really... I mean, yeah, it's a slow start, but can't really argue about it. You just have to accept it. And it's a long season. We're going to have breaks. We're going to have Fecha FIFA coming up, so we'll see how it goes. But I do see Tigres being in the playoffs again, obviously. There's a few teams that I might see, might not see. I feel like Tijuana might be up there again. Pachuca, I can see them again. I want to see if America can do it. I know they got a French national, but it's pretty disappointing to see him play.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Mexican soccer, how about you tell the people if you're here in Houston and you want an opportunity to catch some Mexican soccer, you have an opportunity coming up.
Oh, yeah. March 24th is a Saturday. You're going to have Tigres versus Chivas playing here at the BBVA. It should be pretty interesting.
Tickets just went on sale.
Yeah, tickets just went on sale. It's going to be pretty crazy. I've been hearing a lot of stuff about a lot of people going. Chivas has a big fan base. Tigres does also. I've had an experience for Tigres and America game, and that game was pretty crazy, and I'm expecting the same thing. So yeah, if you're here in Houston, or if you want to come down from San Antonio or Dallas or wherever, March 24th, Saturday at 5 in the afternoon, Tigres versus Chivas. Should be pretty great.
And what's great about that is it's not just it's two big names. Because usually we get these games and it's like one team's big, the other team's not that big. You know, you're not hyped. But like you just said, both teams have huge fan bases that travel, and huge fan bases here, following with American fans. And it's kind of cool if you've never been to a Mexican soccer match. It's a totally different atmosphere than if you're at your traditional Dynamo game or or Dash came down there. So definitely check it out. We'll be there, and it should be fun. So with that being said, to finish up the show, just a couple of reminders and announcements. We'll come back to you with episode 14, a full-length show in February. The Champions League round will be first leg. The next round will be through by that point. We'll have some more news about the upcoming Dynamo season. We'll have some more details about our one-year anniversary show. So mark your calendars for March 17th. March 17th is the Saturday before that game. That's our one-year anniversary. We're going to have some special guests, hopefully, live on the show. You have to be live and watching, not a contest afterwards. Giving away a pair of Dynamo tickets to a game this summer. We have the last couple of our show shirts, the original show shirts. So if you want to get an original show shirt, we'll be giving away a couple of those live as well. Coming even later than that, but just to put on the horizon, Texas Soccer Live will be sponsoring a bracket challenge, if you will, for the World Cup this summer. I'm going to do one that's just for fun, and then we will have one for those of you that want to risk some money and actually get involved with us off air here and put some money in the pot and put your money where your mouth is. We'll have one for the grown folks who want to actually do that, and then we'll have one for the kids who just want to pick their teams for fun. But we have more details about that coming your way. We hope you guys are liking what we're posting there. You got both of us. Richard is now with us from Aaron posting stuff. Raul Bermudez is still posting stuff. So we hope you like it. Also, tell us if you like this format. We did a real short show. It's informal. It was only 45 minutes. Tell us if you like that better than the traditional, hour 15 show that we do. We want to be responsive to you and kind of see what's up. So I guess with that, I'm Sean Tellez. That's Raul Villarreal. We will catch you next time. Appreciate it. I need some outro music.